So welcome everybody. And it's been a while since we've had a group this large. And I can't help but feel it's because there's something in the way that Sayadaw Tejaniya teaches that is very attractive, that makes sense to us in a way, and which certainly speaks to our needs and to the conditions of our lives in 2016. And maybe some of that was conveyed in the email that I sent out, the emails yesterday and today. Some of you are familiar with Sayadaw Tejaniya because this is the third time in as many years that we've set aside a number of weeks to meditate and to practice awareness in the way that he teaches. And but for some of you, it'll be new. So I thought I'd spend a little bit of time tonight, right at the beginning of this, not just tonight, but I expect and hope that we will follow section by section through this book over the next 12 weeks. I thought I could maybe offer a few context-setting comments and remarks to set us on our way. So Sayadaw Tejaniya is a meditation teacher from Burma, and he is a well-established and renowned even meditation teacher who is solidly in a certain lineage of Buddhism in Southeast Asia that stresses and teaches what's called insight meditation, which is a way of watching our experience moment to moment. And being from Burma, he's also solidly in a lineage that for more than 50 years, actually goes back further than that, has really stressed very strongly teaching meditation to lay people as opposed to just monks. So in Burma, it goes back more than 50 years now, monasteries have been opened to lay people, and they take them in literally by the thousands collectively. A lot of monasteries will take in lay people by the hundreds for weeks and months at a time and teach them how to meditate. And when this was introduced, it was really quite revolutionary in the world of Buddhism in Southeast Asia to not just teach monks, but to teach lay people. And Sayadaw Tejaniya is in that tradition. In a certain sense, though, he's a true pioneer, and he has broken even with his own tradition, because he has developed and is the foremost teacher of an approach to meditation that doesn't emphasize formal sitting meditation of the kind where you fold your legs and sit on a cushion, close your eyes, or sit on a chair and close your eyes for a period of time. He doesn't teach, or he doesn't emphasize that kind of meditation in his teaching. Instead, he has developed pretty much on his own, although definitely with the help of his own teacher, but he's the one who's really popularized it and has made it as increasingly widespread in Western meditation centers. He stresses a kind of meditation in which we strive to be awake and aware in a meditative way throughout our entire life, as he says, from the moment you wake up until the moment you fall asleep. Well, many of you may be wondering, how would that be possible? And finding out how it's possible is very much what his teaching is about. But you might say that his discovery, and I say that word because I know teachers, including my own teacher, Steve Armstrong, who studied himself for 5 years under another Burmese teacher who really stressed the sitting meditation style. And when Steve switched over to Sayadaw Tejaniya, he himself was surprised to discover that he was able to develop a stable, clear mind. The technical term in Buddhism is samadhi. Steve was able to develop as high a quality a samadhi in daily life, getting up, going to the bathroom, washing hands, eating breakfast, and so on, as he was in formal sitting meditation. And so maybe right there we can see the kind of allure, that this type of meditation would have for us in the modern West with our busy lives, and in which, it's really common to feel like we don't have the time to sit and meditate. And we often will fight with ourselves about that. Like if we miss a day of sitting, we can get very judgmental. And if we miss 2 days, we're more judgmental. And if we miss 3 days, we're ready to give up. We're ready to give up on the chance to be enlightened in this life. So Tejaniya throws us a big lifeline in the way he teaches. One of the things he says is to make your home, meaning your house and your family, make that your retreat center. So even though Sayadaw doesn't teach or doesn't stress formal sitting meditation in his teaching, he does very much approve of it, encourages it, but he just doesn't place primary emphasis and stress on it. He does very much approve, and he himself leads regular retreats where people will take a week or 2 weeks out of their schedule, and they will separate themselves from their home and their family and do a solid 7 or 10 or 12 days of continuous daily life meditation. And I've been on one of those retreats taught by Sayadaw, and I've been on several retreats taught by Steve Armstrong, one of his senior students who also teaches in this way. And what we'll be doing over the next 12 weeks and possibly more, because there's 35 different sections in the book, and if it goes well for the first 12 weeks, maybe we can just go all the way through the book and get enlightened, yeah? That would be good. So he says, make your home a retreat center and incorporate all of your daily activities and also all of your interactions with your loved ones, with your pets, with everybody that you meet and come in contact with and have conversation with in your home. Make every single one of those interactions a chance to meditate. And by which he means to see what's actually happening in the mind and body in this very moment. We could be doing this right now as we're sitting here. As I'm talking, I can try to keep aware of not just the words that I'm speaking and the thoughts that are coursing through, but also a sense of how my body feels, a sense of specifically what I'm feeling, like my fingers touching my glasses down here or the breeze coming in. And I can also roughly keep track of my emotional state. Whether I'm identifying too much with a teacher role, for example, which can happen, or whether I feel like I'm getting into a place where I'm in a cleaner way, just transmitting Sayadaw's own teaching, which is kind of what I'm shooting for, but I can kind of keep track of how those things are going. And to do that is meditating in Sayadaw's parlance. But when he says to make your home a meditation center, that's good advice, and he does mean that. But in a deeper way, he's actually saying, figure out how to make your own mind and body your retreat center 24/7, 365. And to see if you can find in the instructions that he gives, which, by the way, are the instructions that the Buddha gives, see if you can find a way to be able to access the retreat center in your mind at any time, including in those moments right before an argument breaks out, for instance, like with a loved one, suddenly you'll recognize the need to go on retreat right then. Time to go on retreat if you're scanning the emotional landscape and see a tendency towards anger. Time to go on retreat, like right then and there. And it's not really like you go on retreat, but with these techniques that we learned from Sayadaw, it's a matter of noticing the retreat center's already there. And all you have to do is just know yourself as it. To take refuge, so to speak, right then and there. So that's one way of thinking about the practice as he teaches it. So another thing I wanted to just touch on as we set off on this journey, there's two other things. One is I just wanted to describe the book in a little bit more detail and what it goes through. And then my hopes for how the sessions themselves go, and how we can use our time together to get the most out of the book and for each one of us personally in our own life and in our own practice. So the book, if you do get the book, you'll notice that it's broken up into 3 sections, but as I read through the book and as I have read through the book, it makes most sense to me to break it up into 4 sections, which flow very continuously from the first page to the last. And each of those has somewhere between 8 and 12 sections. So each of those 4 sections sections of the book has subsections, which are typically only like 5-6 pages long, and each of which I think are wonderful, very compressed and very specific aspects, or represent specific aspects of meditation that we could easily spend a good week on, just sort of exploring what is this aspect of meditation that Sayadaw is talking about this week. So for example, in this first section, which takes 12 weeks, this is on the topic of wisdom. Wisdom to Sayadaw is, you could call it the Dharma. It's the Buddha's teachings. And it has a quality of it's really that quality in us that we want to awaken. We want to be most in touch with. In a sense, we already have it because it's natural to us to have this wisdom, but we don't know that we have it. And so each practice is really a way to see what we already know and to really deepen into it and settle back into it. This is like the quality of wisdom, and especially to get some momentum with that wisdom. So the book here is entitled When Awareness Becomes Natural. Awareness and wisdom are almost the same thing to Sayadaw, and we want to work with our own experience such that at some point we don't feel like we're struggling to get wisdom or struggling to be aware. It just more or less takes over on its own. That's the point at which awareness becomes natural. And that's what we want, right? It really, if meditation always feels like a struggle to get to the cushion or whatever, that's not going to work. Likewise, if we feel like these moments of awareness come too sporadically in our life, like we have one in the morning and one in the afternoon, well, that's good. But wouldn't it be great if each one of those spread out and wasn't just like 1 or 2 seconds long, but actually was 1 or 2 minutes long, and then in the afternoon 1 or 2 minutes long, and then other ones start to pop up throughout the day, and each one of those can expand until finally our whole day can be quite close. We can get quite close to being continuously aware through our entire day. And that's the point at which awareness becomes natural, or has momentum is the word that Sayadaw likes to use. So some of the sections in the wisdom, some of the subsections of the wisdom section are things like right view, right attitude, morality, and something called objects. Objects are really important to understand in Sayadaw's system. So there's a subsection on just objects. So we'll spend that week just looking at objects, just being aware of objects. So I think in this way, we'll get, if we stick with it, we'll get a really fine-grained look at, this process of meditation and how it can work for us in our own life. And you know what? We can actually start to see what the Buddha was talking about as it appears in our life, in moment to moment. It's really a beautiful kind of unfolding. The second section of this book is, as I read it, is really about compassion. Compassion is the basic practice taught by the Buddha, right? Compassion is being able to bring awareness to our experience such that we suffer less, and such that we stop unconsciously creating more suffering for ourselves and others around us. We want the skill to be able to see when we're causing suffering for ourselves and when we're causing suffering for others, and we want that to stop. And instead we want, in a more natural way, to be able to share our best qualities, like wisdom, like compassion itself, and joy, and equanimity. So the second section is on compassion. I'm offering these to what we can look forward to. The third section of the book is really interesting because it's actually biographical. So I call this section of the book Liberation, and basically Sayadaw is talking about how he himself used this type of moment-to-moment meditation in daily life to get over his addiction to drugs and petty crime, because as a teenager he was into hanging around with gangs and sniffing and inhaling toxic substances and taking opium every now and then. So, he was having some trouble as a teenager. And then as a young man, he got married and he took a job and he got very, very depressed. And he kept going off to the monastery to learn meditation. But then he came back and he applied meditation in his own daily life in his father's textile shop. And that's where he got this momentum I'm talking about. It was literally from applying meditation in this particular way, continuous awareness of daily life interactivity with other people and noticing himself, that he cured his own depression. And the last time he went to the monastery to practice meditation, he never came back. Because he got a reputation within that monastery of being such a good teacher. People flocked to him. And also, he himself just turned his life around and became a kind of vehicle through which wisdom flowed and joy flowed. And he did what he's teaching. So that's the third section of the book. And the last section of the book, I call it integration. It's really about how to deepen what we learn in meditation in daily life. Especially, for instance, how we can learn to speak in a way that's more productive of sharing wisdom and joy, equanimity. How we can learn to act in such a way that we become more, an alive, aware presence, sharing positivity, how to use our energy in a healthy, wholesome way, and so on. So I wanted to, so the last bit then is, I would, we have a Sunday morning program here at the RMC as well as Thursdays, and over the years, Thursdays have typically been a Dharma talk that I will offer or a visiting teacher offers, and then Sunday morning we have more of an interactive exchange where we'll read a little thing every week, and then we use that as a way to help connect with our own practice and to share with each other what our practice is And a lot of us will bring things that we've been working on throughout the week. And when people feel like they're stuck or feel like they've had a breakthrough or have other things they want to share, they share, and we learn a lot from each other. On Sunday mornings, and I would really love it for Thursday nights to be like that as we work our way through the book. So tonight, I would love it if we would spend the rest of the time doing that, sharing. So to do that, I thought I'd hand this out. So this is the first reading. Some of you may have already read it before you came here. And while we're handing this out, any questions so far? Questions or comments?
Are there any extra cushions by chance?
Yes. Oh, you mean cushions like this? Yeah. Or did you want a cushion for your
My
chair?
legs aren't long enough to reach.
Oh, okay.
Just-
Hey, oh, yeah. Thanks, Dia. They're in the closet right there. Maybe a couple of those green ones might be better than the big black one.
Then people will see.
Yeah, okay, good, yeah. Thank you. Hopefully. Thanks. Okay, so one of the things that Sayadaw is really known for, one of the things that makes him such a standout teacher, he has this incredible ability to offer kind of a compressed wisdom. So that I call it, it's like he's able to speak in a kind of very tight and terse slogans almost, or epigrams, or they're like koans that draw you in that have the ability to draw you into your own experience, because quite often when you first read them, they're puzzling. And then what you do is you dig into that puzzle. So what is he talking about? And it lights things up, because when you figure it out for yourself in the puzzle, because you find it in your own experience. And so this is actually the very first page of the book. And I thought that we could read it, and then each one of us in our own way, and feel free to share, please. What does this bring up for you in your own meditation practice so far, or just in your life? So what we'll do then is, as you'll notice, I put the double hashtags in there. So let's go around. Can we start with Darren? And then we'll go around here, this circle here, and then we'll start on the second ring here, and just read. Yeah, we'll go this way. So just read the one sentence until the double hash mark, and then the next person let pause for just a minute to let that sink in, and then you read your sentence, stop at the double hash marks, and continue on. So go ahead.
First, we must ask ourselves, what is our relationship to reality? What is our understanding of life?
From this, we will find meditation is really the only sensible approach to our reality and the problems that can arise from living.
We can use meditation as an escape or avoidance from life, or we can use it as a practice to attend to life. When we start bringing awareness to the way we live, it soon becomes apparent that we have little understanding of ourselves or the environment we live in. We are facing a constant battle just to maintain a little happiness in our lives.
So stop at the double hashtag. Okay.
The problems that we create out of fear, boredom, loneliness, routine, despair, and repetition, to name just a few, are the reality we face.
Life is a serious business, so it takes a serious mind to investigate and understand what makes us suffer.
Before we can bring about a shift from this reality, we must first look at what is and understand it.
We must look at life as it is and come into intimate contact with it.
It is not just about accumulating knowledge or seeing life as an abstraction, but more about a simple understanding of what it is really like to live life as a human being.
It is only a quiet, dedicated, and meditative mind that can penetrate and find true understanding into these difficulties that we create in our lives, and from this see through the confusion and chaos that can dominate our minds.
You know, I really hated reading out loud in school. I didn't know this was going to be part of it.
Suck it up, Dave.
With this understanding, the wisdom that is inherent in us all is slowly revealed.
The joy that comes from recognizing this wisdom will create interest and understanding, which in turn will motivate us to reveal more.
This then allows us to look deeper into how we experience life in our relationship to the world around us.
Dave, would you like to finish?
You go ahead.
From this position of wisdom, life becomes more meaningful and more stable. And happiness can then flow in a more natural way.
Well, I think you were right, Doug, about the crowd tonight. I mean, I guess I recognized his name a little bit from years past, but maybe it wasn't the right time. But here, I think sentence number 2, what is our relationship to reality? You know, we all have one, but shouldn't we know what it is? Shouldn't we examine it and perhaps massage it into a way, that would be beneficial? So that kind of grabbed me.
You could easily stop at the end of that first paragraph.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are the questions.
What's your name?
Nancy.
Nancy. And Nancy brings up something quite, I think, interesting about Sayadaw, and that will come up against over and over again. But even when we pick up like a 5-page section, he says things in such a way. And I would strongly encourage you to practice with him in such a way that you might only take one sentence from those 5 pages and just stick with that one sentence for an entire day or even an entire week. Just that one sentence. This is the nature of his teaching. It has that quality. Even 5 pages is, in a sense, too dense, because he's sparking with these, insights and pointers that are so profound. Like the one that Dave just pulled out right there, the first one. Was it a little bit jarring for anybody like it was for me, and maybe for Dave, to hear a person put things in that way, that we want to figure out what is our relationship to reality. I almost laughed a little bit when I saw that. You know, it's like, wait a minute, how have I overlooked that for so long? That does seem like a pretty central thing. Yeah, so, and then you can actually, by going inside, you can start to, you start to practice with it. So I'm just riffing on this a little bit, because to reflect internally on what he means there and what it means in your own experience is meditation. It is contemplative meditation to see the truth of what he's pointing out. And it's contemplative meditation according to the Buddha too. If we're channeling Sayadaw here, Sayadaw is channeling the Buddha. You'll see him quote the Buddha over and over again. This is his understanding of what the Buddha was teaching. To be awake and aware from the moment you wake up till the moment you fall asleep. That kind of thing. So yeah, that's good. We're practicing already.
But isn't reality different depending upon whether you're awake and aware versus not being awake and aware? You be more emotional.
It's a good question. It seems different, doesn't it?
But that's to me.
Yeah. It seems very different, doesn't it? Like if we're really angry, that seems like a different reality than when we're really happy,
Right.
right? Yeah. So what's he talking about
Or
then?
even when,
And by the way, are we happy with that relationship to realities? What's your name?
Bill,
Bill. What Bill just said in terms of, relationship to reality. Are we okay to have a relationship with reality that basically our relationship to reality changes according to our emotions? Our core relationship to reality. Are we happy with that?
well, I think it's whether, no, I think one reality is an unhappy state.
Yep.
And the other one's a happy state. When you're aware,
Yeah.
you're happy. When you're emotional, you're unhappy.
Yeah. It's hell, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
What hit me with that is how is that relationship changed as meditation goes along? From, very beginning, like victim, and then there's like observer, and then there's like creator. So it's like the whole.
I wonder, don't we create our own reality? Mel.
Hey, Mel.
Hey.
Can you say more about that?
Well, we take it in, our perceptions, and we place a label on it, and we interpret it.
A label like good or bad?
Yeah.
Happy or sad? Yep.
Yeah, we interpret it.
Yeah.
Based on our cultural upbringing, the context, how we've been conditioned.
Yep. Yep. Very much so.
I found my sentence.
Yeah, please.
I'm over here.
Yes. Oh.
I'm new, Paula.
Hey, Paula.
I did
What's your
not-
sentence?
My sentence is wisdom that is inherent in us. And why I say that is I do not know Sayadaw. Sayadaw?
Sayadaw, yeah.
I studied a different lineage, but the Dharma is the same all over. And I really believe wisdom is inherent, and I think as you sit, that stillness brings peace, which brings insight. And that, for me, that's pretty essential in order to have that immediacy of every experience, like it being moment to moment as you experience things. So, and I think the stillness is what uncovers the wisdom. Is, you can't, with a busy mind or a monkey mind, you're not going to, that wisdom is not going to come out.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that's my sentence.
Yeah, beautiful. Great.
I was more struck by what you said about Sayadaw's experience applying meditation in his dad's textile mill.
Textile business, yeah, retail textile, yeah.
And it made me wonder, it's a radical thought, perhaps, made me wonder, does meditation exist if not applied?
Can you say more?
I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
expand that a little bit.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a noun or a verb? You know,
What would unapplied meditation be?
Something else?
You mean just sitting there?
Yeah, just sitting there.
I guess I'm visualizing the relationship of meditation to the concept of nothingness. Or am I taking this?
But why does it matter to you, like in your own life? Why does that, I'm sure that it does. I'm not sure, where does it connect with your own experience that can help us understand why that's a burning question for you?
Because I'm not such a fan of theory
Mhm.
or speculation or philosophizing.
Yeah,
I'm a much bigger fan of application.
yeah, right.
That's like sometimes, at least for me, meditation can feel like I'm skirting around and dancing around
Yeah,
the juiciness.
You know, what I've always thought is you can use meditation as an escape or avoidance from life, or we can use it as a practice to attend to life. So,
Yeah.
it could be either.
That's what I learned when I went to I've always practiced mindfulness meditation for a lot of years. When I went to the Steve Armstrong retreat and learned about this Tanzania's approach, I was just amazed how it just opened up. It just opened right up. Because I was always coming back to my breath. So, it kind of kept me in one thing so like that. Well, the teaching was to just be aware of everything, all the senses,
yep,
the mind.
whatever is arising.
So we're sitting there and the windows were open and I'd hear a bird and then I'd hear a train
Yeah.
and it would go further. I mean, it just like, I was sitting there and it was just like this huge
Right.
expansion
Yeah,
of everything.
right,
And just to me, that's what's getting in touch with all of it is about
yeah,
and in my trying to become more efficient at it now, one of the little things that I do is we have a singing bowl in the house. It sits where we can see it.
yep,
And I've made it a habit that, because what happens to me is it's easy for me just to be gone and my thoughts like normal. And so I use that bowl when I see it. For some reason, I can use that to just bring me back and what am I experiencing? What's here to be aware of? And it's amazing how much of the day now I can be there.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, Bob's talking from the vantage point of a person who's practiced with Tejaniya for a while. This is what happens practicing in this style. It's a
Right, and then my wife and I are doing the same thing. Once in
Yeah.
a while, we'll even, when we're walking by the bell, we'll just ring it. And it helps the other person, no matter, and you hear that whole thing
right.
all over the house. And so, boom.
You get that expansion
You come
right away.
back, you come back.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Being aware.
beautiful. Yeah,
So
yeah,
for
nice.
me, it's just a matter of how do I come back to awareness? Because
Yeah,
my habit all my life has been to be in my mind and monkey mind, not to, just to be wrapped up in the past and the future and all of that,
right.
rather than right here, right now, what is,
Yeah.
what can I be aware of in the present moment?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that's present in the present moment is often thoughts themselves that are trying to take you away from the present moment, right? They're trying to lure you into worries about the future or regrets about the past, but you can just be aware of those. In the same way that once upon a time we were consistently aware of the breath. We'll be aware of the thoughts. It ties in with, I think, now I think I understand what you were saying, Laurel. I think so when Dave pointed out that there's a distinction here that Sayadaw is describing between the activity of the thinking mind on the one hand and awareness of things on the other hand. And awareness is always applied in what you're saying. It's always applied because it's awareness of things that are happening right now. That's the application. Whereas thoughts are often drawing our attention away from what's happening right now to other abstract, non-applied things, again, to use your lingo. In fact, that's the great specialty of thought. Thought specializes in that type of activity to take you away from what's really happening. Yeah.
I think what Bill said too about emotion, like being angry, and that somehow is taking us away from awareness. And if you can just be aware of that anger, being in that anger, that it's not good or bad, it's not being present or non-present. If you allow your anger to take you away from the present moment, it goes into story, it goes into revenge, it goes into all kinds of things. Then it does take you out of the present moment, but the awareness is what's important. Anger. And then we come to the sensation of anger, and we come to, and rather than spinning off into the story, or what I have to do about it, or in order to get out of it,
right?
In
Exactly.
order to come back to happiness,
right?
In some way.
Yeah, there's always a stability and a clarity to the awareness that acts as a kind of remedy or counter to the roller coaster quality of the emotions. Does that track for you, Bill?
Yeah, that's what basically, I don't necessarily call it meditation.
Yeah.
Because I'm really new at all this, but I look at it as being, and that's what gets me into becoming aware. I become aware that I'm in this negative emotional thing, and that makes me go toward the awareness and pulling me away from the emotion and the random thoughts and becoming more in the moment. It's just a natural for me anymore. I don't really call it meditation.
Well, that's fine, yeah. We don't have to get hung up on the words, but I think what you're describing is it. It is exactly what he's talking about, and you said something there that I think is really worth highlighting, which is you said that in your experience there's a kind of a pull. Now, away from the emotion, that's what you just described. Normally we feel pulled into anger or pulled into stress, right? And then we almost feel desperate, like, oh my God, here it goes again, and you can feel it sucking in. But you were just describing a pull out of and towards something else. Am I right?
I know I'm going to be unhappy there.
Yeah.
So
you're feeling a pull. What is pulling you? That's an important thing
to. It's the happiness, and it's it's the happiness, the joy of knowing that I'm going to be.
It sure is nice to know that's in there, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. That's a great thing to discover. And you don't need to be calling it meditation to discover it either. You discovered it without calling it meditation. That's cool. Yeah.
Drawing off of Bill, I think, since I don't have the book, I don't know the relationship of this text to the rest of the prose, but I feel like the section that you gave us is really tight.
Yeah.
Because we start out with awareness becoming natural. Then it kind of seems here that meditation is a synonym for awareness, which is also a synonym for happiness. And
more or less. Got to be a little bit careful on that point, but okay. A little bit careful on calling it a synonym to happiness. But
well, then can you expand upon that, or is that part of acquisition of wisdom?
Well, it is both, but it's simple. I mean, in the sense that happiness in Buddhism is not the happiness that we generally. is not that happiness that we generally call happiness in modern 2016 life, you know. What we think of as happiness and what our culture describes as happiness and what we learn as happiness are things like accomplishment in career, the gathering of objects and material, the acquisition of XYZ, pleasurable activities, substances, things, and so on, right? It's the getting. Basically, it means the getting of things that bring us pleasure, and so we equate pleasure with happiness. But in a Buddhist sense, that's not happiness. That's suffering. And I've seen nodding heads as I was just. You understand why that's not happiness, to just get things.
More than happiness, it's contentment.
So it's actually we're talking about a different level of thing. It's really more like what we call peace. And in the sense that, and we can touch in with how, have you ever had a moment where even though things were going really crappy in your life for whatever reason, maybe you were really sick, maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, maybe you didn't get the thing you wanted, or whatever it is, but suddenly you're okay with it because somehow you recognize there's a natural flow, a natural unfolding, and you're okay with it. That's happiness. And the happiness that we're shooting for, so to speak, in this practice in Buddhism is to basically have that happiness, that which is peace. Peace with whatever is arising, whether it's pleasurable or not. Yeah.
And stability. You use
Stability.
Stability.
Stability is a big part of it.
Stable,
Yeah.
not pulled over,
That's right.
pulled over there and
Right, yeah.
grasping
Yeah.
and clinging and all
Right.
those things.
Right. Yeah, there's a line in a Buddhist that the monks will chant: the greatest happiness, which is peace. The greatest happiness is peace. So, any other? I mean, yeah, this is great the way we've been going, and we're practicing in the Sayadaw Tejaniya way here. Any other sentences that popped out for people that you can use for yourself in the week that goes along, or can help you ground yourself in this?
I like the 2 lines of the problems that we create out of boredom and fear and loneliness, blah, blah, blah. And then the other one of, it is only a quiet, dedicated, and meditative mind that can penetrate and find true understanding in these difficulties we create in our lives.
Why does that speak to you?
Because I think that those emotions can be problems and cause instability, to use Kathy's words and Bill's, or it can be that you can just have equanimity with that.
Yeah.
Can go either way.
You know, I underlined that myself in here as one of my sentences, and the thing that I liked about it was it points out something really fundamental, which is that our suffering in Buddhist terms, by the way, we're not talking about the aches and pains of life. Those are considered to be inevitable. It's only realistic to understand we're going to have unpleasant sensations in our life, pains, aches and pains, and so on. What Buddhism addresses is the suffering that we mentally add on to the normal aches and pains of life. And it's talking basically about the self-created suffering. That's what we're looking at in this practice. And the theory of the practice, which is up to us, I know you didn't like theory, but it's the theory that we are invited to explore to see if it's true in our own self, is the promise the Buddha makes is look inside your own experience and get to know in a very intimate way, because you've seen it really clearly, how you are creating your own suffering. That's what we're trying to do. We want to turn to our own suffering, and by the way, the home environment gives us a lot of opportunity to do that, right? Usually. Every home has natural frictions. So each one of those is a chance to look in and see how in this situation am I creating my own suffering. And then once you see how that's happening in a very kind of almost a mechanical way, like this leads to that, leads to that, once you see it really clearly, that gives you the chance to stop doing it And even better than that, and this is one of the most beautiful things to notice, you'll just automatically stop doing it because we are wired to stop doing what we know is hurting us. In the same way that if a kid touches a hot stove, you learn that it's hot, you don't touch it again. That's how.
To keep us from retreating
Retreating?
and not ever experiencing some of those emotions, or not able to stand up for ourselves.
So to escape instead, you mean?
Yeah,
Like you said?
that's a good question. How would you answer it? And I'm not trying to be cute there, but really,
No, I mean,
do you notice something in your own experience that you are retreating? And then you say to yourself, how can I not retreat?
right,
How can I not
go back and
avoid?
forth,
Yeah, that's right. That's so important, isn't it? Is that when we notice in our own experience, it's kind of natural not to look into our stress and tension, isn't it? It's kind of natural to retreat from it because we don't want to feel it.
Being aware of it
Yeah,
is, I guess, the first step of
yeah,
going forward with it.
yeah.
I like how you call it the juicy stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Juice sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds
so
sweet.
nice.
Yeah, yeah.
He brings an inquisitiveness
Yes.
to meditation. It's not just getting peaceful, going right to happiness. In a way, it's answering the question, what is my relationship to reality and what is it like to be a human being? But it's not offering to answer those with some kind of discursive philosophical stuff. But still it has that same inquisitiveness. It's a
Absolutely.
questioning spirit that he wants us to
Yes.
bring,
Yes, absolutely.
which is, I find, really, that's engaging. I mean, and that's what,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's engaging in
meditation
yourself, right?
feels
It's
like
engaging
that's
in
what
yourself.
brings me to meditation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Like
that
there's a
means
curiosity.
active,
That's a
like-
curiosity, right? Like, what am I going to find out?
Yeah, and it might be different for every person, what brings them to it or how they approach this as a question of, what they call like the great matter. What am I here for? What am I supposed to be doing? How can I be happy? It could be it can be framed in a million different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Darren just pointed to something that it's actually the topic of a couple of these short sections is investigation is very big in not only in Sayadaw's way of teaching, but the Buddha himself talks about it. The Buddha says there are 7 qualities of mind that help us to liberate ourselves from our emotions, from being tied to our emotions. And the first one is awareness itself. But the second one, which comes up immediately, which follows naturally after noticing we're aware, is curiosity, a desire to know. And can we find that, can we locate that in ourselves? Curiosity is my word. The word that he uses in the book is investigation. There's a quality of wanting to investigate, to explore, to dig in there. And the Buddha says, you want to locate that quality within yourself because pulling that thread will cause all the other qualities of mind to come naturally after that one, investigation. You're aware, you notice you want to dig in and understand. Because you know that understanding equals happiness. That's another way to describe happiness is understanding. So you pull at that.
And it feels to me that sort of questioning, that pulling that string, that nothing feels more honestly wholesome than that. There's something very selfless and clean, and like, what could be better than that? Like
Yeah,
just at a
I
gut
do.
level, it feels
Absolutely.
totally wholesome.
It does. Yep.
Applying that awareness to the thought, my thinking, which has taught me a lot about how repetitious. I don't have a lot of issues really, I've discovered. They're just always coming back this similar.
You only have one issue that keeps coming up again and again.
Well, there's a certain number.
In different forms.
The important ones anyway, but I never noticed it before.
Beautiful, yeah.
And so as soon as I can just go, oh, I'm thinking about that again.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And then, like you were right when you said earlier, you then can, it's easy to let go of it, at least right then.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
just being aware of what the thoughts, you know.
Right.
That awareness is the freedom to not go there. And
Yeah,
I'm
beautiful,
amazed-
yeah, right.
I'm amazed because I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And how it's a lot less. But
Yeah.
sometimes I can wake up and find myself walking down that road for a while, for hours or a day.
Right, right.
And then the awareness will come in that I'm there again, and
Yeah.
subconsciously.
Right.
Or unconsciously, not aware.
We're all very proud of Kathy for biting her tongue.
Allowing it all to go.
Yeah, yeah.
So, isn't all Buddhism about awareness, about understanding reality, about understanding what our life is about wisdom?
Yeah.
The big difference is his approach to how we practice to reach that state. Is that fair?
The big difference as compared to what?
Other schools. Other
Oh.
schools of Buddhism.
You know, I'm not as much of a scholar of comparative systems, but
What is different
yeah.
from what we're going to talk about here compared to what Thich Nhat Hanh talks about, what we've been...
Hardly any essential difference. I don't think there's any essential difference between Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings and Sayadaw Tejaniya's teachings. Essentially, they use different vocabularies, but you'll find way more parallels than not parallels. But I think it would be very fair to say that in a certain way that if you were to look at this system, so to speak, the Buddhist system from 30,000 feet as compared to other, especially religious as opposed to spiritual systems, this one, and the Buddha is talking about finding a way to make life go better by noticing what's going on in your own experience and working with that skillfully such that things go better, as opposed to learning systems of thought and belief that are said to make you feel better because you believe them. And if you do them, things will go better. That's a very core difference. And that the Buddha stressed over and over. And it's one of the great mysteries that actually reverberates through these words. There is a mystery, I feel, that we often don't really know what's happening right now. Isn't that a mystery?
Yeah.
It's a mystery. We don't know.
But it's also
But it's discoverable, which is the great thing. It's a great thing, but there is a mystery and it's not being known. And even once we know it, there's still a mystery beyond that. And when we know that intimately, actually things start to go better. But it's all grounded in our own direct experience. We're all scientists of ourselves, so to speak, and it has nothing to do really with learning teaching points or theologies and that kind of thing. So that would be my way to take a crack at your question, Jerry. So I think I heard the Plumber Bells, which, by the way, if you notice, they're new.
Yeah.
They changed the tune on the quarter-hour rings. And I sent a note to the editor of the Post Bulletin. I said, "Would you please investigate this?"
Yeah.
He just sent me back an email saying,
Is it the Koch
"The answer man is on it." So
Oh, that's so great.
watch the column, and supposedly he'll talk to the person who knows at the Mayo Clinic, whoever that is. We don't know who that is, but
Yeah, 'cause what is
he'll
this
get the
tune?
scoop. We'll get this. Yeah, I asked him to please tell us what that tune is, because it's the same tune, only embellished and different. Hopefully, we'll get the whole thing. So
Are you lamenting the loss of the familiar?
I had a brief, because I've been listening to the other one since I was like 6 years old. So I had a brief moment of grief, but then it passed pretty quick. I'd like to offer this, and I said this in the email as well, but I will send out every morning at 5 o'clock. I won't be awake, I get the computer to do it. But I'll send out every morning one line or two lines of instruction that go along with the chapter that we're doing that week, so that if you would like, you could use that as the practice for your day. And you could use those daily practice reminders to come in your email every morning if you'd like. And if you'd like to sign up for that, again, you can either send me an email or you can just write your name and email on the sheet.
Is that different than what you already do?
It is
The
different.
daily
So
take.
I wanted to say, some of you are already on the Daily Tajnia list, which is a daily practice reminder. However, if you put your name on this list, I'll take your name off of the other one, and from now on, for the rest of this course, you will get the daily reminder that is customized to the section in the book we're at, and you'll be on that list, and that'll go out every morning as part of this. So feel free to sign up if you'd like. And why don't we just take a minute to let the words go, as they say. Shifting awareness to be slightly more focused on the internal and what's happening right now, just resting in that. And tonight, feeling gratitude for all of us who showed up. We support each other in our practice when we do that. We support ourselves and we support each other. So gratitude for all of the positive feelings about this teaching and the gratitude for the teachings themselves. May whatever skill we gain help not just us, but others. May all beings be without suffering.